Druids are arguably the absolute kings of PvP, especially in Classic, and this is going to be a full guide on how to play them for Season of Discovery. First of all, let's look at races. Now, if you are going Horde, you're going Tauren. If you're going Alliance, you're going Night Elf, and that is that. However, let's still have a look at what actually is offered by each race. So if you are a Night Elf, you actually are going to have the highest agility ever, which is of course fantastic. You are going to get an extra 1% dodge chance as a Night Elf. However, I think Taurens do have the biggest advantage in their racial, of course, War Stomp. It is a 2-minute cooldown, but it's going to stun up to 5 enemies for 2 seconds, which is in PvP a very long time. This is absolutely amazing, and Taurens do have, of course, endurance racial as well, meaning they are going to have even more increased health. But of course, like I said, Night Elves do get more agility. However, it depends what kind of spec we're going for that's going to mean if that's making the biggest difference or not. Don't forget that War Stomp can be used to stun so you can get a quick heal in. It could be used to get away from someone, and one of the builds we're going to be looking at is going to be increasing our speed. Being Tauren with that War Stomp is going to make that even better. Now on to the exciting bit, which is of course looking at the builds we're going to be doing. I've got 2 main builds that I've been trying out, and both of them work completely differently and have some really unique use cases. So this is going to be the first one we're looking at, and this is kind of like a triple damage over time build using Sunfire, Moonfire, and what's it actually called? The Swarm? Insect Swarm, that's it. So starting then off on this build, I'm going to look at the talents, and over here in the balance tree, you can see you've got 4 out of 5 and improved wrap. The reason it's not 5 out of 5 is because we don't have enough points. Remember, we only have 16 at our disposal here. So picking what talents we're going with is super crucial. It's really, really tough, and I spent a long time trying to move these around and try and get the best fit, but I think this is going to be it. We've then got 1 point into Nature's Grasp. So while active, anytime an enemy strikes the caster, they have a 35% chance to become afflicted by entangling roots. Only usable outdoors, 1 charge, which is really fantastic for, you know, tangling up those enemies. It's been really, really useful at stopping people where they are, or when, you know, they're attacking you, etc. And you can go into improved Nature's Grasp, highly increasing the chance of this to happen, but I just don't think we can afford it this early on in the talent tree. The 4 out of 5 in improved wrap. Now, my thinking on this is that we want to reduce the cast time of it, and that's so that we can just spam out wrath. If you were kind of in the back lines here, and you know, there's somebody else kind of taking on whoever it is, say in Warsong Gulch, you're in the back just spamming out that wrath with all your dots up. This could be really, really useful at just firing them out as quick as possible. The main thing paired with this is that we're taking Fury of Storm Rage. This rune on the chest reduces the mana cost of wrath completely. It is absolutely free. Each time you deal damage of wrath, you have a 12% chance for your next healing touch to be instant, and I'm going to be a bit more on that in a minute with the healing touch, because obviously as we need to heal ourselves, etc., that is the main thing we're going to be using. So that's what we've got in the balance tree. I've left the feral tree completely empty at the moment for this build, and then most of it is actually going to go into restoration. So of course on the top row we need 5 points to get down to the second one. Overall, TLDR, we're trying to get to Insect Swarm here, so we have to put 5 points in the top row, which is Furor. This is the go-to. This is the really obvious choice here, giving us a 100% chance to gain 10 rage when we shapeshift into bear and dire bear, which is really good for survivability in PvP, or 40 energy when we shapeshift into cat form. Now, on the second row, what you might be thinking is, why are you not taking improved healing touch? Reducing the cast time of our healing touch by, well, if we put 5 points in there, 0.5 seconds. Well, by my testing, most of the time, I'm kind of just praying that, you know, we can use our Fury the Storm Rage when we're wrathing to then have our next healing touch be instant, meaning that we're going to get a proc on that healing touch. Boom, we've used it instantly, okay? So considering we're going to be using a lot of those, I thought it best to actually not go into improved healing touch, reducing the cast time. I felt like that could be a waste of our talents here. So instead, I've put it into improved Mark of the Wild, increasing the effect here, and Gift of the Wild by 35%. Nature's Focus is going to give you a chance to avoid interruption, which sounds great. However, it's when you're casting Healing Touch, Regrowth, and Tranquility, which, as I said, we're going to be using Healing Touch instant most of the time if we can. So again, it's not that useful. Improved in Rage and Reflect reflection, I just didn't really think was worth it. And the same obviously with subtlety. So we're going then to take insect swarm, which means the enemy is swarmed by insects, decreasing their chance to hit and causing nature damage over 12 seconds. This is one of our dots. The other is of course going to be our moonfire, and then the third is the sunfire rune. Burns the enemy for 55 to 65 nature damage, and then additional 110 over 12 seconds. This is fantastic. In addition, while in bear form, cat form, or dire bear form, your moonfire is going to be replaced with sunfire in bear or cat, and this spell benefits from and triggers all effects associated with moonfire as well. So when you're not in cat, we can be using our moonfire separately as well. And then on the third rune, I've put life bloom. Now, what some people may look at doing, including yourself if you're watching this, is possibly going with skull bash, because you can charge target, bashing them, interrupting spellcasting and preventing that for 2 seconds. This is a really, really useful rune, and if you don't want the extra healing, you could take this over life bloom. Considering that, you know, life bloom can stack on the target and that we can just have it ticking away there on ourselves or someone else if we want, I think for survivability, life bloom could be really, really useful, and that's what I've been going with. And it's just one less thing to think about when you've got a bit of healing coming on yourself. Paired then with the Fury of the Storm Rage rune with the instant healing touches, I'm really enjoying this. If you're then saying, why would you not take Star Surge, because it is instant cast, causing 57 to 70 arcane damage, well, when we look at our Sunfire one, you'll see this is doing 55 to 65 damage versus 57 to 70, so very, very close on the damage that Star Surge and Sunfire each do on their instant damage. But then of course Sunfire, even though doing a little bit less with 55 to 65, it's then going to do an additional 110 over 12 seconds. So if you're going to be taking Star Surge, you might as well just spam Sunfire instead. There really is just no point in taking Star Surge from my point of view with this build. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's what I think you've got on this rune. Skull Bash or Life Bloom, depending on if you think you're going to get more value out of the interrupts or the healing. Fury of the Storm Rage is absolutely necessary for how this build works with the rat casting. The only other option, if you don't want to go down that route, could be then taking Survival of the Fittest, but at that point you're going to take out the 4 points and improved wrath, and then I personally would then put that into improved Nature's Grasp instead, if you want to go down that route. But generally, this is the build I would suggest, and this is how we would play it. If we then look at the second build, this is going to be a lot more feral focused, and first things first, we're still going to put 1 point into Nature's Grasp because I think it is absolutely amazing in PvP. We're going to still put 2 points into Furor, and I would like more in here, but we just can't afford it with the points we have. And then in Feral, which is where we're putting most of our points, the main objective here is to get Feral Charge. Causes you to charge an enemy, immobilizing and interrupting any spellcast for 4 seconds. It's only on a 15-second cooldown. This is amazing. And with Feral Charge, it does share a cooldown with Skull Bash. So absolutely do not take Skull Bash on that rune. If you are going into this build of Feral Charge, it's going to be an absolute waste because of the shared cooldown. So we're taking 5 out of 5 into Ferocity, reducing the cost of Maul, Swipe, Claw, and Rake. And do remember that with our Mangle rune, which I'll discuss a bit more in depth in a minute, we are actually, it says at the bottom here, this ability benefits and triggers all effects associated with Claw and Maul. So you will see here, reducing the cost here from Ferocity is going to affect our Mangle, which is fantastic because we're going to be spamming Mangle in this build. On the second row then, we've got Feral Instinct, increasing the threat from bear and dire bear form. We don't really care about that, and reduces the chance enemies have to detect you while prowling. This is fantastic in PvP because you can really sneak up on people, and that kind of is a no-brainer to me. Going down one more then, we've got Feline Swiftness, and this is the gold standard in this build. Along with the objective of getting to Feral Charge, I think Feline Swiftness is going to dominate in PvP. Increases your movement speed by 30% while outdoors, and increase it in cat form, and increases your chance to dodge while in cat form by 4%. You've got to imagine here, you know, in PvP, it's a lot of cat and mouse, and if you're chasing somebody down, that is going to be a huge movement speed increase, okay, that is constant when you're in cat form. Pair that then with Nature's Grasp, either when you're trying to run away from someone or catch someone. Again, these are going to pair up fantastically. You've got the Entangling Roots effect there. You're running faster than them, hopefully, you know, with Feline Swiftness. dangerous. Getting away from them, chasing them, I think this is going to be phenomenal. In Warsong Gulch, this could be really useful with the flags, etc. If you're taking that, this is, in my opinion, well, this is it. This is the one to go for. Again, we do want Furor, and it's a shame we can't put more points in here. 40% chance to gain 10 rage when you shapeshift into bear and Dire-Bear, or 40 energy when you shift into cat form. So when you are switching forms, this is going to be really, really useful, and it is going to enable us to get like another mangle up if we can when we're switching forms, etc. On the runes then, survival of the fittest is the absolute golden standard again on here. It's reducing the chance to be critically hit by melee attacks and reduces all damage taken, and an additional 10% when we're in bear or Dire-Bear form. I think in this build, this is the absolute go-to. Again, on the leg rune, so like the last build I said, it was between Life Bloom and Skull Bash. Of course, we're not taking Skull Bash on this one, remember, because of Feral Charge, but there is Savage Roar, and I've spoken to a lot of people who have been saying as well, you know, the finishing move, increasing physical damage by 30%, could be really, really useful here. Especially at 5 points, it's going to be up to 34 seconds, which is an astronomical amount of time, and getting your bleeds up, spamming that mangle, etc. You know, I think this could be a phenomenal amount of damage we could be doing. So again, just like the last build, you're basically choosing here between, do I want some extra healing or do I want some extra damage? And that is completely up to you. Mangle then is going to be the absolute go-to. Well, I say that. Some people are saying Sunfire still, and I'm not convinced too much myself in this build. You can use Sunfire as a cat, so maybe test it out yourself and just see which you prefer, because you can spam Sunfire. It has got a dot on there, which, you know, can help burn them down, and like I said, you can use it in cat. However, Mangle is also really, really useful with a 30% additional bleed damage and shred. It's going to trigger from those effects associated with Claw and Maul, and you're going to mangle the target for 160% normal damage. So it's a difficult one on this one. Like I said, I think there's going to be some real differing opinions here on if you should be going Mangle or Sunfire, even in this cat build. If you are then going into Sunfire, I wouldn't suggest then going into Ferocity, and I guess you could put it into Feral Aggression instead, but I personally am going with Mangle. Sunfire overall is quite OP at the moment, and I do wonder if it is going to get nerfed as well, but we will see. So I really love to hear your opinions on these builds. I have tested and played these a bit myself. I really, really like the dot one, but I'm not the most aggressive PvP player. I don't do solo PvP, and I think that first build is going to do much better in a group setting, whereas this one I think is going to do a lot better sneaking up on people and doing some 1v1, etc. Going back onto this build as well, if you wanted to make it even more hybrid, you could always actually take out the Sunfire and go for Wild Growth. If you're in a large PvP sort of group setting and you want to, you know, get a few dots up, do some healing, you've got your Life Bloom, you've got your Wild Growth, I think that could offer a really good balance as well, just to add that in there. So these builds are definitely not set in stone. Again, with the limited talent points we have, it's really quite difficult to get the perfect build, in my opinion. Last but not least then, I just want to show you some of the gear pieces. I'm not going to go through an absolute complete gear guide here, and the reason for that is that I do have a full gearing guide for Druids. I'll put that in the description below, but there's a few key items I want to go over with you now. So first up is from engineering, the Minor Recombobulator. It does require 140 engineering, and the limit is 150 in phase 1. This is going to dispel polymorph effects on a friendly target and restore health and mana. So if you're going for that first build that I showed you, this could be really useful, and it could be useful for dispelling those polymorph effects, of course, as well. The other one is going to be the PvP one you can buy. You need the Corporal rank for this one, and this is the insignia of the Alliance, or of course the Horde, using it to dispel all charm, fear, and sun effects. This is a really valuable trinket that I would advise getting as soon as possible. Another one from PvP over here is the Sergeant's Cloak. I have gone through this already in my video, What to Do First, level 25, but just to go over it again, this is again a PvP purchasable cloak that has 4 of everything, and you can enchant, meaning it is absolutely phenomenal, and it is best in slots. These are the few of the PvP items I would advise getting. Oh, there is one more actually, which is the Protector's Band, and this is actually from either Silverwing Sentinels or the Warsong Outriders reputation rewards as well that you can buy. So there are some really, really useful items that you can get specifically from PvP. Overall, that is the end of the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope these builds are enjoyable for you. Let me know how you get on with them. I spent a long time practicing and testing with these to try and get the optimum ones possible, and I think these are going to be some of the best in phase 1. If you do have your own builds, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Would love to hear some of your opinions and what you think, or if there's any improvements you think that could be made and what you're running. If you did like this video, of course, please do also click that subscribe button and leave a thumbs up.